Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness. This is episode 109.
And we're back for a new episode on the Let's Be Well Together podcast. Today, it's Elise Seifert, and I'm joined by Julie Wilson. Hey, Julie, what's on your mind today?
Today, I found a really interesting article, and it was talking about creativity. It brought it into the context of creativity and how it can help your mental health. And I thought, let's have a conversation about that. It brings in how creativity, thinking about your right brain, your left brain, and just how important it is to work both sides of your brain. And I got thinking back to a conversation I had with a colleague who, very, very busy, had a lot of different roles in their professional life. But the one thing that they always came back to in terms of just when they needed some downtime or they had a really stressful day, that the one thing they always turned to was playing the piano. That would take them into a different headspace. And so this article, it prompted that memory of having a conversation with this individual about that. And I thought, these outlets are so important. And I don't know about you, but I like to think of creative ways of going for walks. What I mean by that is different places or focusing on different aspects of it. There was a walk I went on, and it was with a musical group, and they advertise music in the woods. You walk through a trail, and they were playing. Some were playing musical instruments, some were singing, and it gave a whole new perspective to being in the woods. And actually, there were birds that started to sing in response to the individuals who were singing. It was just fascinating. I love walking. I love trails. And this was just yet another way, a different creative way of getting out and walking in the woods.
That's amazing. And I know music is such an incredible tool, and it's such a great stress relief. 100%. Listening to music, participating in music. I don't know. There's something about music that really just speaks to your soul. So it's a great way to really relieve stress, sharpen your mind, and improve your mood overall.
To add on to that too is the physical side of it. So you're listening to music and you just tend to move, whether it's dancing, you're moving. And so that improves some of the physical aspect too. Now, what's some of the other ways that you can think of being creative that might help us on our wellness journey?
Well, I know I've always been crafty. I always enjoy a good craft activity. So I've gotten into various crafts throughout my life, including knitting. Pottery has been a great one. I find pottery is quite physical as you're manipulating.
I've never tried pottery. I'd love to try pottery.
I'm really sweating sometimes when I'm wedging out that clay or being on the wheel. Like, it takes a lot of force and a lot of control. And I know there have been times where I would sign up for pottery classes that take place after my work day. So maybe like 5 to 8 in the evening. And I get home from work and I think the last thing I want to do right now is go to this class. And then I get there and it just really lets me just let go of my day. It puts me in such a great mood. And oftentimes when I'm in those class settings, it's such a great social activity for me to do. So I get to know people that I wouldn't necessarily have met otherwise. So I think it's a great activity to do those group classes. It's a great way for you to get your social wellness in.
And as you said, you're sometimes tired at the end of the day, but don't you feel so much better after those classes or walk or playing the piano? Like, you change your mindset. I find that's so important.
So important. And helps you to build new skills. So the article talks a lot about how it helps to build your motor skills as well as your dexterity. So challenging yourself. I know, like knitting, it seems like such a small movement, but I did find it was really good for my dexterity and really good for my fine motor skills. as well as sewing is another one. Just having that outlet to express yourself, I think it just really helps to reduce stress for me.
You hit on something there, express who we are as well. It's a form of expression of who we are, right? As well. You can just get lost in that sometimes, which again, you can get so immersed in something that, all else leaves your brain and you're in the moment, you're focusing on that. And I also like in the article that they talk about creativity as the new vitamin C. I thought that was a neat expression and ways of thinking of creativity. So I guess what we could say in the end is think outside the box and get creative.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. We are taking a break from the usual interview format. It's been just over 2 years since we started the podcast adventure, and the whole thing started because of an idea. And the same idea was the seed that grew to become my book, Accidentally Well. And here's the theory. There's a way to approach wellness and balance that works for me, and I believe it could work for everyone. It's about figuring out the different areas in our lives that affect our well-being. And that explains why we talk about a wide range of areas on our podcast. They include mental, physical, spiritual, economic, environmental, artistic, intellectual, and social wellness. We think about it in a well-rounded way. And then we try and figure out what real activities enrich and enhance each of those areas. And we can do those activities. We can make this happen. When we started, my goal was to share the idea, including how to check in on our wellness from time to time. And what I learned after I started the podcast is that my co-hosts and guests are helping me refine and improve my practical approach to wellness and balance. Now I think about my role and that of the co-hosts as exploring wellness topics, sharing ideas and learning from others, and we let our listeners ride along with our journey. So on this episode and next week, I'm taking the opportunity to tell our listeners about the approach, including how it started and how it's been refined by the podcast discussions I've been so lucky to have. So let's start with my story and a bit about me. And believe it or not, I'm a private person and I'm uncomfortable sharing my personal life. It took me a long time to get past that and to tell you about my experiences and approach, which you can imagine had an effect on whether and how and when to start this podcast. And things have changed since I started on my wellness journey about 10 years ago. I am more comfortable in this setting, and I figured something out I wish I knew earlier in my life. I think I'm on to something, and it's worth sharing. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm sharing a practical approach to wellness and balance that works for me. I hope to inspire you to think about wellness and make positive changes in your own life. I'm not an expert. I'm not qualified to provide advice on things like mental health, so think of me like a cheerleader. I hope to encourage you to stop the whirlwind, to take time to think about your own wellness. You won't end up with a final answer if you listen to this episode and the next, but if things go very well, first you'll be inspired to start on a path towards balance that works for you, and second, you'll believe that you can do it. So before I give you a snapshot of my story, I want you to think about some questions. Do you believe there's something like nirvana? It's a concept many of us have heard about, but many of us don't understand. And maybe you use a different word or a different thought. But do you believe there's a destination? That once you find balance and arrive there, then you'll find peace and fulfillment. And after you make it there, you'll hang out there forever. And do you think the mind is the key to the path, your intellect? Maybe you need to transcend your body, or transcend material things, or even transcend your ego. Is that what you think? Do you have any idea how to get there? Or where even the path starts? Whatever your answers may be, I can tell you mine. I spent decades thinking that the answers to the first bunch of questions was yes. I believed there was a place to arrive at and to be at peace. I focused on my mind as being the pathway, not my body. I had no idea where to start on the path, and eventually I gave up thinking about it. I stopped even looking for a path. Things have changed for me. I don't see balance as a spot or a state to arrive at or to stay at. Now I aim to find balance in one moment and then the next. I don't see it as a mystical place. I don't see it as a destination. It's a journey where I'm finding, holding, losing, and regaining balance. And it's ever changing. I'm constantly readjusting. I found a path that's practical and manageable, and I'm cherishing my journey. My motto is to live life in every breath, which I took from a movie. And I don't fully understand how to do that yet, but I'm trying to figure it out. And as an added benefit, my approach strengthens me and protects me. It provides what I call a shield of resilience. So what's my secret? Well, it's not a quick fix or gimmick. And in fact, it's hard work. It's not tied to any religion or any group, and there's no secret handshake. The recipe for my approach is available to anyone. It starts with introspection. Then you add a generous helping of investigation and analysis. And then you need to act. You actually need to do things. To start doing real activities that enhance different areas of wellness and bring balance back into your life. Now, you've probably experienced setbacks in the past, and you'll probably experience more, and that's okay. There's lots of sayings. One that I like is failure is success in progress. In my own journey, it helps me to choose optimism. And I think being optimistic isn't a question of genetics, it's a choice. I choose to focus on optimistic thoughts and not dwell on pessimistic ones. And that's helped me on my journey. I feel better. I'm going to skim over my history and how things went wrong. There's a lot more about that in my book, Accidentally Well. Many people say that the personal stories in my book, including failures along the way, make it relatable. I studied philosophy at University of Waterloo decades ago. And back then I thought naively that I would find answers to all of life's big questions. I never did find those answers. And then I got busy with life. Family, work, finances, more. Decades passed. I was happy. And people are surprised to hear that. When I talked about being very overweight, some people said, it must have been hard to be so sad and depressed. And my answer was, I wasn't. I was happy. Missing out on an aspect of wellness doesn't automatically make a person despondent. But in any event, I had long ago forgotten about the big questions. I didn't have time for them. And looking back, I realized that happiness can be a mask. And that being happy hid the fact that I was unwell. It's a paradox of sorts. I was happy, but mentally and physically unwell. By 2014, on the physical side, I'd let myself go. I had steadily gained more and more weight. I ate too much of the wrong kinds of food, and I exercised less and less. Haphazard efforts to eat right and go to the gym eventually tapered off and then stopped altogether. The worse shape I got in, the harder it was to exercise. And soon after I turned 50 years old, I looked in the mirror one morning and didn't even recognize myself. I was extremely overweight. It looked like somebody had pumped me up with a bicycle tire pump, like some kind of marshmallowy version of myself. And I thought, how did I let this happen? However, starting in 2014, and over a period of years, I found the desire and the discipline and a way to turn things around physically. And there's a long story about successes and failures along the way. And finally, at long last, getting physically fit. I got fit in a way I'd never been before, almost athletic. I fell in love with distance running, which is odd because I always disliked running my whole life. I wasn't looking to find balance or a path. I wasn't thinking about overall wellness when I was getting in shape. But I ended up with a lot of time to think while I was running, hours upon hours. And that led to an epiphany, a discovery. My breakthrough came from an eclectic set of experiences, and here's just two of them. First, I attended a mental health first aid course that planted seeds. It's put on by the Mental Health Commission of Canada. The facilitator spoke about different categories of wellness, 6 or 7 that Indigenous people around the world seem to share. And this made me think more broadly about areas of my life that affect my well-being. She also mentioned a Nordic country, and they were ahead of Canada on mental health issues. And in that country, they had asked themselves what initiatives they could do to help mental health that they could afford sustainably. And for some reason, that reference to sustainability made me think about the trade-offs I make in my life. And totally separately, I had developed a running form check-in, and this had to do with my running journey. If my running form started to deteriorate on a run, I would try and get myself back into a smooth run. I would remind myself of key body movements and techniques that would get me back on track and feeling good. And I developed some buzzwords to remind myself to make the right body movements, things like hips forward. It took time to figure out the reminders, but eventually I found some that worked for me, and I had grouped them into categories because that's the way my mind works. So I was thinking about, okay, what do I need for categories of posture? What do I need for power or foot flow or alignment? And that's where I came up with these reminders. So for posture, it was head up, heart up, hips forward, and toes up. For power, it was engage my glutes. For foot flow, I reminded myself whip, hinge, lift, and float. And for alignment, I kept reminding myself to be straight and square. Each of the activities or body positions helped with a different category. When I got all the categories going together, my overall running form improved. I felt better and more powerful. So I'm out running and I started asking myself questions. And one of them was, if I'm going to seek balance, what am I balancing? How can I talk about balance without knowing what to balance? And that's when I started thinking about different areas of my life that affect my wellness. In other words, my categories of wellness, or facets or areas, which are meaningful to me. I think most people focus on only a few when they think of wellness, at least I did. Think to yourself, if you were asked what areas of wellness are important, maybe you come up with mental, physical, spiritual. What else? I thought about what causes me stress and brings me a feeling of calm. I realized I had additional categories beyond mental, physical, and spiritual. One of my obstacles to wellness was that I did not previously connect some activities to wellness, but I should have. I hadn't recognized the connection, for example, between arts and wellness, or even music, which is only one part of the arts. Music had always been so important to me, to my overall feeling of wellness. It was my retreat when I felt down. It gave me inspiration when I was looking for direction. And lyrics provided food for thought. I didn't connect learning with wellness, which is an intellectual activity, even though I always enjoyed it. I'm a very curious person, and I love brainstorming and finding solutions to problems. I enjoyed math and science and stories and history. I realized I'd overlooked important activities, ones that increased my sense of well-being, and I was surprised. How did I miss the connection? I had already figured out my high-level categories for my running form check-in: posture, power, foot flow, and alignment. I needed to figure out my categories of well-being. So I broadened my thinking, and I considered parts of my life that made me feel better, but which I hadn't connected with wellness. And I came up with my 8 high-level categories that I associate with my well-being. I mentioned them earlier: mental wellness, physical, spiritual, economic, environmental, artistic, intellectual, and social wellness. I started to notice connections between them. For example, let's focus on mental wellness and think about how others connect. Okay, physical. I become frustrated when I'm sleep deprived. Economic. I feel less stress when our finances are under control. Social. Spending time with family and friends puts me in a better frame of mind. Artistic. Listening to my favorite music makes me feel better. Environmental. It's soothing to go for a walk in the woods. Spiritual. Feeling connected to others helps me get through difficult situations. Intellectual. Solving a challenging problem lifts my spirits. I turned my attention to each of these categories one by one, and I asked myself which activities foster wellness in each category. For example, exercise is one of many activities that enhances physical wellness. Budgeting helps economic. I wanted to find a practical approach to enhancing wellness. Identifying activities that foster each category is something practical. It's something I can work on. I think it's achievable for any of us. It's easy to lose balance because there's not enough time in the day to do all of my wellness activities, especially if I consider multiple categories. And it's not reasonable to expect anyone to do all of them at any given time. And so there's a balancing process. I started thinking about unconscious trade-offs I was making between categories. If I spend too much time on one category, then I ignore others. Imagine this at a time in your life, like I did with mine. Maybe focusing on intellectual and economic and ignoring a whole bunch of others. Most of the trade-offs happened without me even noticing, and that was a disappointing discovery. It was disappointing to see that I was not in control, that I was letting things happen unnoticed. I wanted to start recognizing when I make trade-offs, so I can be more of a driver than a passenger in my own life. But how could I recognize the trade-offs and foster wellness in all categories in a busy life? A key approach is to start making informed choices, to be self-aware of what's happening to me, and then choose my course instead of letting things happen. I'd let bad trade-offs happen to me without noticing it. For example, I let myself get so out of shape. I didn't want that to happen. I didn't choose it to happen, but I did let it happen, behind the scenes without thinking. But from now on, I want to direct my own outcomes, and I choose to believe that I'm personally responsible for my conduct, and that I can make myself the person I want to be. I don't want unhealthy trade-offs to happen to me anymore, as if I have no control. And so I need to recognize, 1, that I'm making a choice, and 2, what it is I'm choosing between. And then I can make informed and conscious decisions. So my epiphany. I had already developed a running form check-in. When I didn't feel right, I reminded myself of movements that kept my running balanced and smooth. And I did those movements and started to feel better on a run. So I was running along one day and thinking about different categories of wellness, and it hit me. What if I could do a wellness check-in, similar to how I do a running form check-in when my running feels off? When I feel off mentally or physically, I could ask myself, what categories and activities am I ignoring? I could then remind myself to do activities that foster wellness there, and then actually do those activities. And my common sense approach demystifies the concept of searching for wellness and balance. It makes the process manageable and achievable. It was an approach that was hiding from me in plain sight. And since it took so long for me to figure it out, I'm sending out my book and podcast in the hope that it helps even a few other people find their own way forward. If it helps me, maybe it'll help others. So there's 3 steps that sum up my approach, and anyone can do these steps. I can only speak for myself. I know they work for me. First, step 1, identify my categories of wellness. And they could be different for each of us. Many are probably the same, but there is room for difference, and I came up with my 8. Step 2, figure out the activities that nourish each category. For me, because of how my brain works, I make bullet point lists, like the ones in my book. And those can give you a head start, possibly. And then step 3, develop a wellness check-in. When I'm feeling off, I think about my categories and the activities, and I see if I can identify some that I'm not paying attention to, and see if that explains why I'm feeling off. I look for what's missing. And on the positive side, I see a richness in my life as I come across bullet points that I'm still doing, but I might be overlooking them because I'm not feeling well. So it's not a magic solution, and it is hard work, but why wouldn't it be hard work? Don't most things that feel good require hard work? My new approach is a path forward, and it's a practical solution, and the hard work doesn't scare me. I would rather face years of hard work with a reasonable prospect of a good outcome than sit back and hope that fulfillment somehow falls into my lap. If the experiment works, then some variation of muscle memory is going to kick in, I hope, and I might start doing the activities that bring fulfillment without reminders. And that's the journey I'm on now. The logo that I make, you'll see that it's the podcast logo. It illustrates both an interconnection and the need to work on all areas to achieve wellness. What might your areas look like? Do my 8 work for you? Think broadly about the possible areas that might help you. I suggest it would help you to think about that in your own life. And personally, I don't think you should be too formal about this. Not everything fits nicely into compartments. I like breaking things down, and so I turned my mind to activities that foster each area. And I thought about my own life experiences, I did internet searches, I read articles. I started to develop my bullet point list of activities associated with each of the 8 categories. In terms of those listed in my book, I resonate with some of them, but not others. Even so, I like to at least consider the ideas people come up with. And my hope in listing them in the book is to give people a head start in their own brainstorming when thinking about what fosters wellness for them. So let me use a list from the book about economic wellness as an example. What activities can I perform, could anyone perform, to enhance financial wellness? And here are some of the ones I came up with. I think they're all doable. They might take time, but I think I or anyone could do them. Find a career you enjoy. Use your career to provide financial support to you and your family, while making a positive impact on the organization you work for and on society as a whole. Make and live within a budget. Distinguish between your wants and needs. Live within your means. Develop savings and investment plans, including a cushion for unexpected expenses. Buy insurance and manage risk. That's why in the podcast you'll hear people talking about how to save, how to budget, that type of thing. And I started similar lists for each of the 8 categories of wellness. What I like about this is that it made wellness approachable to me. It made balance achievable. When I think of the activities that foster each category, I think of them as building blocks. When you make the time, you can start working on your own building blocks. If I think of any activity I'm good at, whether it's a sport or a hobby or in my work, it took lots of practice to get good at it. I had to learn a lot of different skills before I got the overall activity. And each of these skills is like a building block. So it'll take time to develop before you start achieving success. And it's the same for wellness. I need to develop my building block activities to set myself up to achieve balance and well-being. This is a natural point to break up the presentation. You've heard today about my approach to discovering categories, activities, and a wellness check-in. And next week, we'll talk about the Great Balancing Act. Once you get your activities going, how can you find balance and work towards overall well-being? See you soon.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of the Adventures of the Starving Artist. Those rare evenings where I had an evening off after lessons and didn't have an early morning the following day, and I thought to myself, what would I like to do with this newfound time? I could practice, I could write, I could play games with my friends. But what ended up happening was I jumped over to an open mic that some of my musician friends host here in town, over at Glebe Central Pub. You might remember I played with the band Central Station a while ago, and those are the guys that host the open mic, so each night they kick it off, then they open the floor up to those who want to do a song or two, and then they close the night as well. Pretty nice, and I thought, you know what the heck, I'd like to go out, hear some tunes, have a beer, socialize a bit, kind of let loose. So I made my way over, and it was really neat because I got to use some of my music skills in a low-pressure and helpful context, which was kind of nice. So here's how it went. We were on maybe the 4th performer, and she had brought her keyboard with her, which is cool. Most of the time it's just an acoustic guitar and a microphone, so it's always neat when someone brings something different. So she gets the keys all set up and a little sound check, and away she goes. And she's playing her second song, an original song, and the band sometimes will join in. And they were trying, but the chords were moving a bit, and eventually they just sort of laid out and let the song play. But I was talking with Jason, who plays the bass, and I was sort of like giving the chords in his ear as they went by, you know? And so she finishes her song, and she's packing up her stuff, and he brings her over, and he says, "This is Cam, and if you tell him the chords, he'll write out your song." Because like I was basically naming them as they went by in real time, right? But if you tell it to Cam, he'll write it out for you quick, and then we'll have a written thing, and we'll play along with you next time. So she was into that. So it was kind of funny. She just basically said, okay, so the verse is, you know, this, and I'm writing down Roman numerals. And about halfway through, she goes, "What are you writing? Like, that's not, those aren't chords." And so well, they kind of are, and they represent blah, blah, blah. So I got through it and wrote it out, and she took a photo on her phone, and so did the band. So who knows? Maybe next time they'll be able to play along with it. It was really neat for me because, yeah, that's something I do all day, every day, but it's usually just for my own use, right? Like I'll be sitting there playing with a student or playing with a band, and hey, here's the chord, boom, play the song, hear the changes. It was neat to show someone how that works and help them out with it. So it was, even though it was a night off, it wasn't really work, but it was a fulfilling way for me to use my skills, and it was cool. Just wanted to share that cool moment of musicianship with you. I hope you get a chance to use some of your skills to help somebody out this week. That's all for me. Have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We don't have any ads yet, and that's on purpose. We're sharing stories and experiences to give back, to inspire, and get people talking about wellness. 2 quick points. My personality is to present things in a progression. Once I cover a point, I often don't go back to it. If you want to see the whole picture about wellness I'm trying to paint, listen to all our episodes from the start. Second, it's costly to put out a podcast. You can help me defray that cost by buying my book, Accidentally Well by John Webster. It's available on Amazon, Indigo, or anywhere you buy books online. Please consider buying a copy.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
It's Elise here, and I am joined with Sheila. Hey, Sheila.
Hi, Elise. We're going to talk about music. And every time I hear move that body, that kind of gets me going, too, right? I'm always like, bouncing around. So working out to music
can really boost your mood.
Yeah.
And it can also boost your workout.
So you told me.
Yeah, I found this article from healthshots.com entitled, Can Listening to Music During Exercise Boost Your Workout? It was published on October 29th, 2023, and it was written by Purvi Kalra.
Okay.
So in this article, we have 7 different points as to why music can help to boost your workout.
Let's hear them.
All right. Our first point is that music helps to establish a sync between body and beat.
Yes, definitely. I find that happens to me all the time because I usually do 15 reps. But when I'm listening to music, I've got to do the reps to the music, which is actually really beneficial sometimes because it's slower than I would normally do it. But I have to do it to the beat, and I have to do it 16 times because that's what the music tells me to do. Right? So, because normally you do 15, but the music's 8 plus 8. So doing 16.
Doing 16. And sometimes you have to wait for that beat drop.
Yes, exactly. Boom.
I also know sometimes when I'd be getting into running at different points in my life, I would look for playlists on Spotify. And Spotify has specific playlists to keep you in sync for a speed that you want to run.
Yeah, that is so
if you're trying to achieve a certain speed, they'll put songs on there that will make sure that the beat aligns to that speed so you can keep up with that speed, which is so amazing.
That is amazing. So if you wanted to run maybe a kilometer every 10 minutes, I don't really know how fast and slow it is.
Yep,
but
a 10-minute kilometer or an 8-minute kilometer, yep, it would have that speed for you.
Wow, that is amazing. Wow, technology just amazes me.
Yeah, so many amazing apps and resources just on your phone, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the second point in our article is that the brain responds to music. So music helps to release dopamine, which can release pleasure and reward neurotransmitters.
Definitely. Some songs just make me happy. One time I was at the gym and a guy came up to me and said, wow, it looks like you're having a really good time. And there was a song that was on and I was just moving and it was in between my reps. So I did my reps and then I came off my machine and I was just kind of wiggling around a little bit, dancing to the music. I think I might have even been doing a little drumming, but and then I'd go do my next rep. I didn't realize anyone was watching me.
He was probably surprised because there's no fun allowed at the gym.
No, everyone.
Work hard.
So I can get that. Your brain releases dopamine. Cool.
Definitely. And I know some parts of songs, make you feel like you want to push harder because you're like, all right, it's building. And now I'm going to push.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Our
third point is that music diverts attention from fatigue.
Uh-huh. Sometimes I find that when I'm working out, if I'm really tired, I'm like, I can't do it. If I'm listening to the song, I'll just actually try and divert my attention to the music and sing to the music and move to the music just so I can get my mind off of what I'm doing so that I can actually do it. And it works. You get through it. Yeah. You get through it. Or sometimes I find if I count to the music, count to it, right? It feels like it comes to an end then eventually. Yeah. So that helps too.
Gives you a bit of a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And I know times where I have forgotten, let's say my headphones and gone to the gym those feel like hard workouts.
Yeah.
Because you're really focused. You're in on your body and you're like, oh man, this is hard.
Yes.
So having that music really helps you to distract. Number 4 is that music can help motivate. So maybe it could evoke different emotions and memories, which helps you motivate throughout your workout.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah. And number 5 is that music can help enhance focus during a workout. So maybe having something to focus on, such as musical patterns, can help enhance your focus and concentration.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to the other ones that we were talking about. But yes, I definitely agree that the music does help you focus and gives you a rhythm and
gives you something to focus on. Definitely. Number 6 is it reduces perceived exertion. So kind of just like the fatigue, it might help to make your workout feel less strenuous.
Yeah, because you're enjoying yourself. You're having a good time. You like the music. You like the song. You almost want it to continue because you want to hear the song till the end. Yeah.
I know sometimes also watching something when you're at the gym helps you too. I used to watch, there were certain channels that I didn't have when I was in university. And I would go to the gym just to watch Grey's Anatomy.
That is so cool.
Like, I have to stay for 45 minutes because this is the only way I can watch the show.
So you actually schedule your workout at a certain time because that's when it's on? Oh, yeah. That's great. That's great.
Didn't have cable.
Super.
And finally, number 7, listening to music during exercise is a personalized experience.
Yes. Yes, because you've got your favorite songs and you get to listen to them and you almost know what's coming up too, right? So you're anticipating that and what's next? And definitely personalizes your workout. Timing too, because you know when you're going to be done, right? You know, this is the very second last song and then I'm done. That's kind of helps too.
Yeah, and it helps, I find, to personalize my mood. So sometimes I might need something that's kind of techno, upbeat, or maybe I want something that would evoke more memories that day. I don't know. Sometimes I just want different things when I'm working out.
Yes. Sometimes you want like a heavier song, to push you a little harder. And sometimes you just want those light songs that make you happy. And yeah. Oh, definitely. You can gauge your workout to the music.
Your own personal workout and your own personal music.
Yeah, great. I can't wait to get my playlist and go to the gym. Thanks, Elise.
There's a thought. Popped up while running. My body is waking up. It's incredible. It's been so long since I've been at the kind of right weight and the right muscle tone and everything else. If you were listening, I don't know if it was a month, 6 weeks, 2 months ago, I said, look, finally, I'm just going to focus on the process. I'm just going to start doing the things that I'm supposed to do, eat a little healthier, do a little bit better aerobic exercise, start doing strength 2 or 3 times a week, getting back to my core exercise. And I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to kind of measure as I go exactly how well it's going or the impact it's making. And in the last week or so, it's been incredible. I've been walking around in kind of my everyday life, and I'm starting to kind of feel energized arm muscles and leg muscles and even stomach muscles. It seems like there's parts of my body that are waking up and getting energized that have been dormant for way too long. And it's a fantastic feeling. So, going to keep going with the process. It's me. Am I?
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin.
Not sure when this will air, but we're recording it just before Sheila's birthday. And the question you get, especially for us, we've been married a lot of years. What do you do on birthdays? Now, I'm saying that as if it's this tough question. If it's anybody else's birthday, Sheila's amazing. She cooks favorite food. And if you have a favorite cake, she'll cook that or get that or do all these things. She's like the birthday party person. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, what would you like to do for your birthday, Sheila? And it's like, what do you want me to buy for your birthday? And it's like, I don't need anything.
Yeah.
So now what do you do?
It's getting hard, right? Because, it's getting up there in birthdays. Like, do we even want to celebrate birthdays anymore, right? Because when you're younger, it's pretty exciting in your 30s and 40s, right? And you get to these milestones and it's all great. But I think once you get past the top, and going downhill, you don't want to celebrate anymore. I don't even want to acknowledge my birthday. But the problem is that I'm an incredible birthday person. I love birthdays. I love celebrating birthdays. And I have done that with our kids and my husband and anyone I know all the time. So what do you do?
Well, now that you mention it, though, there's the part about the number, it's bad. Like I'm coming up to kind of a milestone birthday.
Yeah.
And so everyone wants to celebrate. I don't want to see that number. Right.
I know.
So I'm like, ugh. And people are like, well, it's whatever that is the new 20. It's not. It's a number I don't like. And maybe I'm just being silly, but it's hard to wrap my head around it. So then what do you do on those birthdays too?
Yeah. Do you just not acknowledge the fact that you're getting older? Like that's an option.
Yeah. Well, the irony is I decided when I saw this coming a bunch of months ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to set a target to be in kind of some of the best shape of my life at this age.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do.
Yeah.
But starting about, 6 weeks, 2 months ago, I started on that path, and I'm hoping at some point in the next year, I'm in the best shape I've ever been.
Maybe that's something that I can do, like set some milestones for your birthday. Because I know that some people are like, I want to visit 30 countries by the time I'm 30. I want to do, things like that. So maybe I should set some personal goals for myself for my birthdays.
Well, that's great. Now, having said that, your birthday's in 2 days. So I'm not sure how many you'll accomplish. So what am I supposed to do? So how about dinner? Would you like to go for dinner?
Yeah. So we've been talking about that. Like, why don't we go for dinner? Or how about we walk down to a restaurant and have drinks or do this or that? And the problem I have is the price.
True.
It absolutely kills me because one...
We'll do another Flipside on the price these days.
Yeah, we can do a whole Flipside on the price.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, because it's just kills me but, then you're like, okay, but it's your birthday. Like, you got to make it special. And so I think I'd prefer to do something like you cook me dinner or...
Yeah, that would be nice.
Something like that, but...
Yeah, you made something 2 nights ago and you threw in some herbs and stuff. It smelled so good. I was working from home, come out of my office, walk downstairs. I'm like, what in the world are you cooking? And it was so good, so flavorful. And I'm thinking, where would I get this at a restaurant?
Yeah. And it kills me because all you got to do is cook some garlic and onions, put a few herbs in there, and it smells delicious. It doesn't matter what else is in there. It's just
that you used an herb. I think it was rosemary that you don't use too often. And it kind of had that smell like Christmas turkey and it was delish. So I could make a nice dinner, I think.
Oh, for sure you can. You make great dinners.
Okay. So anyway, what about presents? Like, you do want to get something for someone as a symbol. Like, you do so much for people, like the making the special stuff. I guess that's not a physical present, but it almost feels silly at times to buy presents when you've been married this long and you have everything.
Yeah, I'm finding that, like Christmas, for example, I'm finding that it's hard or stupid to buy each other gifts because we don't need anything. I feel like when you need something, you just buy it.
Right. Or
maybe you save up to buy it. And I feel like I'm at the point in my life where I don't want to accumulate things.
That's the other problem. And so there's an easy one. Well, buy jewelry. You have so much jewelry. Like, if I buy more jewelry, it's just going to sit there.
It's just going to sit there and I'm going to be like, oh, that's really pretty. And then, you don't wear it. Because I don't even wear earrings to work. I used to wear earrings every single day.
Right.
So I loved having different earrings. But now I don't even wear earrings to work because I've lost too many. And because I'm all over the place, I can never find them. I can't retrace my tracks. So I don't wear earrings.
Well, we say often on our show that we're not here to teach. We're just here to share experiences, and we may not teach you lessons. And that's true here because I have zero idea what to do for your birthday other than make supper. Nothing. I don't know what to buy you. So I haven't learned anything, but it's been fun chatting.
I think the fact that you're just thinking about me on my birthday is really nice.
Awesome.
Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way.
It's sign-off time, and it's John here with Elise and Sheila.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't really have too much to say because you already listened to me too much today on my interview hijack. So
Right.
I'll just keep it short. It was kind of cool because we moved the podcast studio from the basement to upstairs. And then we found there was a little echoey. So I got a whole bunch of these foam 12 inch by 12 inch sound deflection panels. And on the weekend, I was like taping them to these boards, and they kept falling off, and then I have to get different tape, but I think it's all working now.
Yeah.
And I think the echoes
diminished. So hopefully we'll get better at that. So that's pretty exciting. And I had fun because it's Sheila's birthday week. I won't say exactly when. I made something I haven't made in a long time, which was Jamaican curry chicken. And it tasted so good.
Oh, it brought me back to when we used to go to Toronto to the Jamaican place. And there's one in Kitchener too. And we'd have these roadies and it was so good. Oh, it was excellent. I loved it.
So how is your week, Sheila?
Oh, it's been excellent. It's funny because John asked me what I wanted to do for my birthday. And I said, I'd really like for you to cook me something. And he said, what would you like? Like, what do you want me to cook? And I said, I don't care. Just as long as I don't have to do anything, I can just come home and enjoy my meal. That's all I ask. And it was exactly what I needed. And also there's leftovers. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's true.
Gotta love that. So I had a great weekend. We actually went because it's like my birthday week. I like to celebrate my birthday for a whole week. And on Saturday, John was like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'd really like to go to the market. So we went to the St. Jacob's Market, which is a market here that's like a farmer's market. It's really huge. And it was great. We went there. And then I said to John, I'd really like to go out for brunch or breakfast. And this is something we don't do very much because John doesn't like to eat like a big breakfast. It just doesn't fit in with how he likes to eat. And I love it. We went and I ordered the combo number one. I have to explain this to you because I've never do this, but I always want to.
I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds like a great idea, Sheila. But I'm like, what in the world?
It has like everything, but it has that sweet thing at the end. So you can either get pancakes or French toast. So the waitress says, okay, so how'd you like your eggs? And she didn't ask me what kind of meat I want. And I was like, oh, that's odd. Maybe it doesn't come with meat. And then, what kind of toast and what kind. Anyways.
Because usually you pick between ham or bacon or sausage.
Yeah. Our waitress was busy, so a different waitress brought out our food. John got the healthy meal or the light choice, whatever that was. And I got this 3-plater. It was like 3 plates. But the funny thing is when the waitress came, she just automatically was like, oh, and here's the light one, and put it in front of me. And I'm like, nope, that's not for me. And John got that. And she was like, oh, yeah, okay, here's yours. And it was so awesome. But it came with bacon and sausage and ham and 4 pieces of toast and
a bunch of fries or
hash fries. And it was just like...
And your French toast.
My French toast. So I didn't eat it all, but I took it home. I came home, had a nap, woke up, ate the rest of it, and then I went to work. I had to do a catering gig. So that was what I ate all day. That's all I ate was that breakfast, but it was fabulous. And then on Sunday, I did a yoga workshop. And this is with my sister who is starting her own yoga company, and it's Be Well Yoga. And it was amazing. It was so awesome. I was worried that I was going to be too tired because I worked the night before. So I didn't get home till like 2 a.m. and then up and going at 8. But we did like all these different types of things. We only did one yoga class and we did one Pilates class. We did a stretch, which is like a strap class is what it was called. And the one that I loved the most, not that I loved it the most, but I love them all. But this one, it was a registered massage therapist who's also an acupuncturist. And she had these balls, these yoga balls. And it's a way of massaging out your legs or massaging out your soft tissue. And so she was doing this and showing us how to do this. And oh my goodness, it was amazing. And it's like a self-massage, right? So it's like self-maintenance, which I think is really, really cool. So that's what I did this week. What about you, Elise?
Well, that sounds amazing. I know I was wondering about that yoga workshop. I had seen videos and posts on Instagram, and I thought, wow, a full day of yoga, that's a lot. But it sounds like it was a very diverse day.
Exactly. It really was.
Oh, well, I've had a relaxing week, kind of uneventful. It was Stephen's birthday week as well. So we also made a lot of delicious food. And then I did finish up my 4-week strength training program that I'd been working on. It's called Strongest Self, and I feel pretty strong. So that's great. Hoping to keep that up and maybe looking forward to starting a new program maybe next week.
That sounds amazing, Elise.
And then today we did have a skunk that got hit right outside of our house. So our house kind of stinks. It like really lingers.
Like in the house, you can smell it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's horrible.
Yeah. So I'm lighting all the candles. I'm like spraying, but it got removed. Fortunately, the city came and removed it. So that's good. It helps to limit the smell. And I think hopefully by tomorrow, we will be all good.
One day you can laugh about this, Elise. I'm glad I didn't go up and visit you this weekend.
Yeah. Stinky. Well, that's it for us. We are so grateful that you're able to join us this week, and we hope that you join us again soon.
That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.